All I have to say is trust and Benji. We'll get there, eh? Go the Tigers, only round one, you fuck.
Well, better stop it there.
That's right, AJ. We are going to be all right. West Tigers Faithful, episode 24. It's our first Wincast of the year. It's my first Wincast ever. Yeah, because I was in Europe and everybody thought I was a good luck charm for staying over there. But you know what? We finally won a game while recording a podcast while I'm actually in this country. Joe McCord, how are you?
Really good, and I have to correct you. It's our second Wincast of the year because I did a live mini Wincast on Twitter after the game, and who was right next to me, Reedie?
The greatest fullback of the modern era.
That's right. Literally, jump on the Twitter, twitter.com or x.com/Tigers Faithful, and you'll see that I was in good spirits and went live for a bit of a mini Wincast. I was planning on interviewing some happy Tigers fans, and lo and behold, right next to me is Billy Slater. So I did a quick interview with Billy Slater. He was absolutely rapt. He was so happy to be in the presence of the co-host of West Tigers Faithful that maybe one day down the line we might get to interview him properly.
Oh, you could feel his energy. He was absolutely loving being on camera after being on a television broadcast for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he was a good sport, Bill. He was a good sport. I won't spoil it any further, but go and have a look. But this is probably a good time because I never do it. If you're on X, follow us. If you're on Instagram, follow us. If you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, subscribe, hit the bell. You get it quick, and it means that you can interact with us because we love comments. We love chats with everybody that listens to us because, quite frankly, we are two mugs, probably a little bit over optimistic, and we love a chat. So yeah, while I'm giving plugs, why don't you plug our wonderful sponsor?
Yeah, why not? Just to add to what you said beforehand, we also are on Facebook and TikTok. So you'll find us everywhere if you search for Tigers Faithful or West Tigers Faithful. It's mostly Tigers Faithful, but if it doesn't come up, just search for West Tigers Faithful. So this podcast is sponsored by Pinch Payments, who are Xero's #1 payments integration, specializing in service-based businesses, helping you collect all of your payments on time. Simply sign up at getpinch.com.au. The best thing is that it is free to try. So go to getpinch.com.au, have a read, have a look, see if it suits what you're doing. Basically, if you're sending invoices to people and you're not taking the payment method up front, then you're letting them pay you late whenever they feel like. So stop doing it. That goes doubly for you, whoever is out there listening that is like in-home services, pool shop owners, lawn care specialists, gardeners, etc.
Pinch. It's a cent.
Hey, I should hire
I was hoping you would one day. Last time I said I don't want to talk about Lockie Galvin. I'll talk about Lockie Galvin in a game context. I will do the same here. But before we jump into the game and review it, is there anything you want to chat about before we kick in?
Yeah. No, man, it's a Wincast, so we can stay positive. I don't think there was any negative Tigers press this week.
No. Cooper Cronk issued a couple of things to work on, but I actually appreciated and agreed with most of it.
There was the thing at the end of the game where he said, even though we just thrashed them, only the Tigers could do that. Mate, Cooper, relax, buddy.
Short walk, long pier, Cooper. Other way around, long walk, short pier.
Yeah.
Round 2, 32-6 over the Eels, 37-degree heat, Combank Stadium. We didn't concede a point for 79 minutes, which I'll get to properly in a little bit. A really, really nice performance for 55 minutes. I was really, really, really nervous, I've got to admit. I was absolutely shitting myself. It's the most nervous I've been for a Tigers fixture in years because I've known for so many years that we're so shit. But this year, I don't think we're as shit. And we were playing against a team that was very shit. And I was
And we
shit.
needed to pump them.
And pump them we did, but it did take a little while. But I will say this, and I reckon a lot of our listeners and viewers will agree to this. It wasn't until we skipped out the 28 blot that I actually took a seat.
Mate, I was sitting there in the stadium calm as ice the whole time. And I was surrounded by Para fans, and I could feel the energy in the stadium. The Para fans felt like Tigers fans. They felt tense and nervous from the kickoff, even during that initial 25 minutes. And as soon as we scored the first try, the whole stadium just collectively just, yeah, it was over from there, really. In the stadium, the feel was bad. In all honesty, the feel was bad from the minute that they were reading out the team list in the pre-game when they booed Dylan Brown. Those fans were not there expecting a win. And that's what proved to be the case.
I know that you've probably watched the game back over, but being there as opposed to watching it on television is always a different feel. You said that you sort of felt the energy in the ground and stuff, but what did you make of it being there, seeing those boys play?
I thought that we were really poor in the first stanza, not just in terms of the errors that both teams were guilty of, but Para were really quite on top in the middle third of the field in the first 5 to 10 minutes. And we really need to work on that because if let's be honest, probably the worst team in the comp can be on top of us for the first 5 or 10 minutes. That's not a good thing. Like, that's something that we really need to fix. But once they sort of spent that initial burst of energy, we just sort of slowly strangled them. Like, even though we were giving them chances by making errors up until about the 25th minute, you could tell that they really only had that first punch to throw. It was a little bit like watching the fight that I watched last Wednesday between the young fella and Keith Thurman, the young Aussie Brock Jarvis. He come out swinging for one round, and then Thurman just measured him out and knocked him down. And that's what you have to do if you're supposed to be a top 8 team versus a team like Parramatta. Once we scored that first try, it became pretty easy. So while you can be optimistic and you can take a lot of positives out of the game about our attack, I think that the real key takeaway is that when we were playing bad and putting ourselves under pressure, we didn't crack. And that stout goal line defence has not been a hallmark of the West Tigers in recent years. So if we can defend like we defended against Newcastle, who are a good attacking team, and Parramatta, who are not, against most teams, we'll be in pretty much every game, I think.
Well, we've conceded the least amount of points in the comp, even less, other force of habit there. Melbourne and the Gold Coast Titans. So West Tigers Defence Incorporated.
Yeah.
Look, we didn't concede a point for 79 minutes in 37-degree heat, and the only reason that we conceded a try effectively was because we went down to 12 men and we were scrambling like mad. But the thing is that first 25 gifted them that field position. They didn't necessarily earn it. Some of the mistakes that we made just weren't good enough. We conceded some penalties that sort of pushed them downfield. And I'll tell you what, as you said, they only had one punch to throw, but I actually didn't think that they looked that bad. Brown, when he ran the football, looked dangerous. We contained him, but I actually thought, God, if he keeps this up, he might give us a few more nightmares if we continue down this path. But also the biggest thing, and I think the most pleasing thing, was the improvement in the tackles that we made on their back rowers. A couple of times they threw short, and you had Jack Williams, who was probably their best player, absolutely steaming onto the ball, probably right post. And then on the other side of the field, Sean Lane tried to punch a hole between Galvin and Seafarth, and he didn't. So it's really nice to see that contact and that intent, and it actually forced errors. The tackle that Luai and Samuela made on Jack Williams to cough the ball up was effectively what got us back on top, which was really, really awesome. The scramble was good to see. Look, again, they didn't really throw much at us apart from that sort of first 25. But at the same time, they worked hard for each other and they looked in control and they looked calm. Look, different tests this week, and we'll get to that. But to your point, and to everybody's point, so to have not conceded a point for 79 minutes in those conditions is awesome. And furthermore, as Jerome said at the back end of the game, one try means that it's not perfect, and there's something to work on next week, which I really really liked.
Mate, I reckon there's more to work on than that though. Like that attack still needs work. But, it's promising to see that the Tigers stayed in that grind, trusted that they would come out of that grind on top, came out on top, threw one punch that, landed. And it was a really nice try, that first try that they scored through Taruva. It wasn't like, that fumbly bumbly West Tigers looking try. It was structured, the play worked, and it came off. And then from there, they gained confidence, and then they started to play a little bit optimistically. And it's interesting that Benji said in the pre-game, that he took responsibility for last week's result because he felt like that he was too conservative in how he was asking them to play. Because that was basically what my feedback was, and also what I suggested that the Tigers needed to do was kind of play to those strengths of those sort of players. And
Yep.
it seemed like until Appy and Buller were back in the side, he wasn't so willing to give them that flexibility. But now with them back and hopefully Buller staying fit, hopefully that's what we can continue to see.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. There is still more to work on. I'm actually really surprised that the right edge actually looks better than the left.
I
I
love
actually
it.
thought with Luai and Sam Weller and Jarrell Skelton on that edge, that was going to be the one where the points came easily. Wrong. We didn't score a try down that channel. If you had told us this time last week that we were going to score the majority of the tries of our tries down our right edge, I would have laughed in your face. But the way in which we took them apart was beautiful. It wasn't the Tigers of old where it's a bit clunky or, a defender misses their assignment or whatever it may be. It was straight, it was direct, and then it was fast. And we went Luai to Galvin. Seafarth ran a beautiful lead line to hold up Dylan Brown and Sean Lane a lot of the time and put them in two minds. And then you've got Joreen Buller sweeping out the back, and the hard work's already been done. And he's clearly been working on his ball playing in the off season. Some of the poise he showed, the double pump to Stafford, the ball to Sania off the scrum, to throw the flick pass to set up his second rather, that was beautiful. Again, there's still work to be done. And look, the Galvin try and the Skelton try, those tries don't happen against good opposition who have strong kick chase and haven't turned their backs to the ball on fifth tackle. That won't happen. But at the same time, it was really nice to see that on the right-hand side. And hopefully come, in the next few weeks, the left side will start to hum that way as well. But I guess the best thing, mate, was that we've relied on Uppy for points for so long. When he went off the field, we scored the majority of them.
Yeah. I think that Talon had another really good game.
Mm.
He's starting to really show that he's ready for this first grade. I'm gonna eat humble pie. Jareen Buller was, night and day to Mason. He's back to where he was. I think, that second year syndrome thing. It's supernatural how it affects some players, but Buller looks like a different animal again. Having him there on the right, you could just tell Lachlan was more confident with him there, and Lachlan was more willing to throw him the ball instead of trying to, put people into space and put the kicks behind and stuff like that. He was like, no, just give it to Jareem. Will do what I need him to do. I trust Jareem. There's a lot more trust on that right edge with Jareem there than there was with Mason, and I think that's what unlocked a lot of it. And then other sides' left edge defenses in preparation now are going to be terrified of the prospect of that right edge because Jareem Buller with a passing game is a scary proposition considering what he can do on the feet. He's going to have a lot of defenders in two minds when they're one-on-one against him. He's can beat pretty much anybody. And now he has that pass. And I have seen him put in some decent little short kicks too. So, there's still more to come with Dream Buller when he starts adding that to his arsenal. Look out. Stafford Toa, huge game. I was so impressed. I thought Stafford Toa was one of the best players on the park. It was honestly, refreshing to see. It was great, like having that guy back. That was last time he had a good game was the last time I watched them in Sydney. So I think Stafford Toa might be a star child of mine or something. But anyway, he was amazing. I think that Stafford and Adam Dewey defensively are responsible for a lot of what was really causing Parramatta to not be able to achieve success. I think
Yeah.
that the way that they were really poised and really, you know, not overcommitting. There was none of this like rushing up out of the line like Fartape did by either of them. Dewey at one point, but he was bailed out by that obstruction. Aside from that play, I didn't see either of them really put a foot wrong, which didn't place either of the wingers under much pressure, constantly forcing the play, to the sideline where, they were able to easily wrap up wingers and centers, and not creating gaps that meant that Seyfarth and Sam Weller were unable to scramble across. It was really good defensive structure. Still a lot of missed tackles, considering the quality of the team. It was still 33 missed tackles, which is not great, but at least in those conditions, it's a little bit more forgivable. So there's still plenty to work on. It's a team that's only 2 games into, well, 1 game into, its best 17 and its best spine on the field. Those structures are going to come, and just imagine how many points we would have been able to put on if Luai and Coruscant played to their normal level. They were both poor by their own standards. I think that I think it's very, very promising signs, but still so much to work on. But all signs are pointing towards the 2025 Tigers Premiership.
I'm going to take it right back. First of all, love your accountability and respected heart on Jermaine. I've been a pretty vocal supporter of his, and look, I love Heath Mason as well, but I just think Jareen has always been that guy, and we always look a better team with him there. And as you say, with this improved ball playing in his repertoire, it's extremely exciting. And he showed exactly what we need or what we needed from him. It looks like he's had a huge preseason. Incredibly exciting to see Jareen and Star come straight on the field after having disrupted preseasons and just not miss a beat. There was no week's grace. That they were ready to go from the outset. Tara, I agree, looks fit. Thank God he's finally had a full preseason. I'm glad that they rested him last week and he was ready to go. That was extremely exciting, and just some of the work that he put on, and he looks a yard quicker. That's extremely exciting. Yeah, so to have those boys is awesome for us, and hopefully, touch wood, Dream's ready to go Saturday night. The 2 guys that I need to give their flowers because they were probably our 2 best. Terrell May, to play those minutes in that heat, it was nothing short of exceptional. He's obviously the standout at the minute in that forward pack, but it really looks nicely balanced. I think if Twal and Bolle can limit their errors, they sort of both of them had a knock on in the first 25. We can have some faith most weeks that they'll do their jobs. I was really, really impressed by the way they went about their work, and obviously Terrell, he just does not stop. It's amazing. Anything there to add on Terrell before I jump on
I
to
mean,
on
aside from, yeah, like 65 straight minutes in 36-degree heat in Parramatta, that is no joke for a prop. Like there's not a prop in the NRL aside from him that can do that.
no.
So he has to be the fittest middle in the game at the moment. And then he came back on, I think. I think he ended up playing 73 minutes, so I think he only ended up having like a 5 or 6 minute rest. So yeah, he's an incredible player.
Just quickly, he didn't get back on. He was 64 straight. You might have been thinking of, just to jump in, the man who gave chase and blocked off a passing
Oh,
lane.
Royce Hunt. The reason I thought he came back on this because I saw somewhere today when I was reading that he played 73 minutes, but I remember seeing him go off at like the 64th or 65th. So yeah, no, I didn't remember him coming back on. I just assumed he must have because of that. Yeah, those two chases of Royce Hunt. I was sitting there in awe. Like I watched him because I was at the ground and I was sitting pretty much on the 40-meter line on one side of the field, and so I watched him. And like when those two line breaks were made, it was there was him and one other that were chasing on both of them. And I'm just like, what are you doing, big fella? Like, you don't have to do this. Like, and the knock on Royce Hunt's spin is fitness. The knock on Royce Hunt's spin that his tank, mate, on a 36-degree day at the 75th and 77th minute, he's chasing backs down the field. That bloke's not unfit. He's he's got a tank. I think maybe that's what he was trying to prove. Maybe there was an element of him where he's like, I got plenty left in the tank here. I'm going to show Benji that I've I'm not an unfit fat piece of shit. And off he went. And bloody hell, isn't he quick?
God, I think he kept pace with Samrani.
He was running down the right wing, which was Sam Rani, and at one point, instead of like continuing to chase Sam Rani, he recognised that all he had to do was just stand in front of Lomax, and he just moseyed up in front of Lomax, and he's just like, yeah, hey, young lad. Zach Lomax must have took a look at him and been like, fuck, this is not our day.
7 runs for 101 meters is
Oh, those carries off the back fence. That reminds me of the when we had the that awesome forward pack in the mid 2000s with Papau and Gave and all of those blokes. That was the last time we saw somebody hitting it up like that. You can see it inspires Bolle. Him and Bolle, 100% in the camp that those two should both come off the bench. I just reckon you start with Twal and May, find another option for 13, whether it's Sione or something, and then just bring Bole and Hunt on at the 25th minute and just go fucking boom. Like,
yeah,
man, the opposition would not enjoy that experience, let me tell you.
absolutely not. The guy that I have not focused on, I will get to. I said I've mentioned 2 players, but just really quickly, Jack Bird, his line speed and his intent to jam blokes. Sorry, his intent to jam like blokes twice the size of him, Sam Tuivasa, Junior
Yeah,
Paulo, etc. Like and to make 20 tackles and only miss 1 in that heat is exceptional. He nearly averaged 10 meters a carry as well, which speaks to his fitness. And how well he's doing in the middle third. Again, I know it was against poor opposition, but all the signs are if we can keep that man fit, he's in for a really, really good year. And you know what? We would use some luck on an aging player down on his luck, and it looks like it's going to be Jack. And you know what? I'm pretty stoked that it is.
I was at one point watching him, and I had the epiphany. I was watching him. I was like thinking to myself, like, he's actually good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there was like all of the signings that we had, people looking at Jack Bird and being like, that's kind of maybe the one that's, not necessarily going to pan out. And then I was just thinking to myself, I was like, nah, bro, this guy is in amongst it. Like, he is having a crack. And he's like, you think about who he's kind of replacing in the roster. I kind of view him as John Bateman's direct replacement. That veteran sort of like wily. He's supposed to sort of be a bit of a tone setter in the attitude and stuff like that. Like what he's doing is so much more effective than what John Bateman's doing. He's buying in. He's leading by example. He's, defensively leading by example. He's taken really tough carries in hard situations. He hasn't even really had a chance to, like, he's just playing as a pig, like, and he's a skillful dude. So once, once we really kind of find a way to involve him and Samuel Afainu too a little bit, there's certainly some talented players there who we haven't really managed to kind of get into the system yet. So there's plenty of improvement to come once we can find that full balance.
Absolutely. Question for you. You ever had a favourite player who's a winger?
Taniela Tuiaki.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that one. What about a winger that's effectively about 180 centimeters tall and about 85 kilos ream weight?
Nah, how good? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Go on.
I think he might be my new favorite player, and I'm almost disgusted because he's a winger.
How good is that?
I love
Man,
it.
the Tigers have been like really leading with the cringe, and you know what, I like it. Like I've been, I've been a little bit like, how do I say this? Like the Tigers haven't really been like courageous as a club in any aspects until Richo showed up. Richo's just like, he's unashamedly himself. He's like, mate, I'm Shane fucking Richardson. I know how to run a football club, and I'm just doing this shit. Fuck out of my way. And it seems to be extending to the way that they're communicating in social media with their weird anime clips. And, they got rid of whatever his name was, Ray Warren's son. And, with his like podcast style, no offense to podcasters, of course, and replaced him.
No, it wasn't. I think it was more AM radio style.
And replaced him with TikTok creators or whatever that they've gone and done, and now we've got Sonia and Jerome Luai leading this like, and the Tigers ever had a freaking hand gesture as a club?
No.
You know what I thought was great was Alex Toll leading the song.
Yeah,
Like
great pick. Great
Alex
pick
Toll leading the
because
song, he didn't know the words on that Matty Johns episode. Remember, like there was a whole like the most hilarious episode ever. Fletcher 90 tried to make him sing the song, and he just didn't even know the words. And now he's leading the team song.
if you want a really good laugh, and it's old now, but going into the 2024 preseason, they did like a Lebanese round table. Josh Mansour, his Let's Trot podcast, and he had Adam Dewey, Jacob Kiraz, and Alex Tyle on there. And he is so funny. He tells a story about how he was shopped to the dogs. Oh no, he was asked whether he was shopped to the dogs around the time that Scott Fulton was our recruitment manager, and he goes, "Does no comment mean I have to say anything?" And they go, "Yeah," and he goes, "All right, well, no comment."
It was like on the Matty Johns episode when they asked him a similar question. They were like, you know, can you tell us what the club was? And he was just like,
Yeah,
and they're like, just give us a clue. And he just goes,
he's so funny. Anyway, yeah, Tito, I absolutely love him.
he's a ripper player.
Oh my god! And you know what? All these worries that I had, talking about it from our end of season reviews all the way forward to now about his defense, I reckon 70% gone.
Yeah, because like in the Penrith side, like they didn't make too many errors. So when one would get made, it'd be like, wow, But like
Mm.
we're Tigers fans, we're used to the entire side from 1 to 17 being bad. So the worst defender in the Penrith side's come in and he's like shored up a spot for us.
That's right. Before we move on to these 5 questions, in terms of some bigger picture stuff, I just want to really quickly give a shout out to Benji Marshall. I think that the accountability was something really fresh and something that you very, very rarely see from coaches in the NRL. He obviously loosened the shackles this week, and the scoreline read what it did. But I was also pleased to see Marshall the tactician. All the stuff about winning the game in the first half, and the points will come in the second. And also, I saw it in his interchanges, where although I think Sione Fonu probably could have got more minutes on a hot day, he actually waited for Jason Riles to blink first with his interchanges. He didn't mind draining the tank of his middle forwards because he knew that we were rock hard fit, and he had worked his players so hard in the off season to deal with extreme heat, and obviously playing an standard match, and we stood firm, and we came home strong. It just felt like he said how it was going to be through the week. He made that clear to his playing group, and he went toe to toe with his opposite, and he took him to school. Like, how often can we say that about him? And I think that's a sign of his growth, and hopefully the next chapter of his evolution.
All I have to say is trust in Benji. We'll get there.
That's it. We
On your
did.
bungee. On your bungee. Let's go. Let's
All
roll.
right. So the stuff that I just previewed before in terms of 5 questions, you drum these up. We'll try and answer them reasonably quickly. The first one I think is a really, really good one, given the way that he started this season. Is Adam Dewey's future at the Tigers?
I I wrote the question. So how about you answer it?
With pleasure. Personally, I would like him to stay. I think moving forward, I don't necessarily believe that he will be our centre even in the medium term, but he provides wonderful utility cover. He's a local junior. He's passionate about the club. I think he does all the right things and the good signs of a good clubman. I think he can be a leader in the sense of the way that he's come back from injury and those sorts of things. So I would like that. But do I think that Adam Dewey sees his future at the Tigers? No, I don't. I believe that he will probably try and position himself to play 5/8 next to Mitchell Moses at Parramatta next year, or try and find a halves gig at another club. He's got a lot of self-belief and assuredness. And I don't think the club would stand in his way if he was offered the chance to play in his position of choice. But selfishly, I would like it to be. But I won't be surprised within the next 6 to 8 weeks if we see him sign with another club again, so he can get an opportunity to play in the halves in the NRL. Your thoughts?
I'm not 100% sure, eh? Because, like, you know that meme that everybody posts in the Discord about him?
Yes.
You know the one I'm talking about. What's it about? He's gutted that he's been characterized as a selfish player. That news article, you know that one?
Yes. Yes.
I feel like Dewey is a clubman. I genuinely do. Like, if he wasn't a clubman, I don't think he would have sacked his agent. I feel like Dewey's a pretty cool. Sorry, my daughter's emptying the bathtub. I feel like Dewey's a little bit along for the ride with the Tigers. To be honest, I mean he's a Tigers junior. He's a Tiger, and I think he feels like what we do. Like he probably wants to see this thing through. Look, if he got an offer he couldn't refuse and the club couldn't match it, sure. But I'm not 100% sure that the club wouldn't match any offer that he was willing to, that another club would be willing to offer, sorry. Like if you, like let's say the Dragons or the Eels or the Dolphins or somebody like this comes a knocking, how much are they going to offer him? And like, is that amount that they're willing to offer him something that at this point that the Tigers would refuse to offer? I feel like at this point, like he's probably going to be looking at like what 450 as a max, like even as a half at another club. I feel like that's probably where his values can be perceived at. I reckon Richard will match that because like the value that Dewey's bringing to the club right now is easily worth that with his goal kicking, the fact that he can play centre. We haven't even really seen him play wing for the Tigers, and I think that's his best position, personally. He can obviously play six at a decent standard. But he could play seven, he could play 13, he could probably play back row if he stopped being such a baby. And he's a perfect 14. So I don't know. I don't know. I think if I was rich, I would be offering him an extension this week, personally.
Hey, what do you? How much money are you offering?
350?
I don't think he takes it.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to ask the question though. Like, I think at this point, would you make that offer if you were in? Have you seen enough from Adam Dewey this year so far to make an offer of that amount to him?
Yeah, I think he's worth 350 right now.
Yeah.
In 6 weeks, it could be more.
Yeah, so you got to put the ball in his court, right? Like, if you offer him that now and he says, look, I want to keep playing, I think I'm playing well, I want to, like, put myself in the shop window, then you kind of know, right? Like, you kind of know, okay, go get some offers,
Yeah.
see what you can drum up, come back, and we'll talk. And that's fine. I think that's how you'd play it. That's how I'd play it.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. Richard was pretty candid. He said Adam's a good person and he deserves a good deal. And if that's here, great. If it's elsewhere, that's okay too. So they obviously have a very open and honest relationship. And hopefully, again, I'd like him to stay. I just think honestly, Adam won't waste his career. He's coming into his best years, and and if he thinks he's a 5'8" or a halfback, he won't be playing for us
We
next.
stood by him through some pretty difficult times, injury and stuff.
Yeah,
So I agree. I reckon he's the best goal kicker that we've had in a very long time. He is. He hits them sweetly.
yeah, yeah. Like he's got proper technique. The ball swings. It's not kicking hard. It's impressive. Next question: how good our new signings have been thus far? If I can flip it, I think it's almost, you know, actually no, it's not flipping it. You can just see the difference
Mhm.
in the side and the class that these guys possess. 10 out of 10 for Taruva. I think probably an 8 out of 10 for Skelton. Luai, I will give a 7. Still, I think he's still finding his feet in a new system and with a new role. But defensively, he's been amazing. His chat and his organisational skills have been brilliant. Jack Bird, I'd probably give a 7 as well. Royce Hunt, I would also give a 7. Really, really impressive and good signs thus far from all of them. And to this point, and the season's only 2 weeks old, but to this point, they have done everything that we expected of them going into this year.
Absolutely stellar work. There's no two ways about it. Like, how many times have the Tigers signed a group of players and they've come in and made this much of a difference in key areas of weakness? Never. This is the best signing drive we've made as a club, and it's not even remotely close.
Yep.
Last time we made a signing drive anywhere close to as good, we won a comp within 2 years. It's awesome to see. Jerome Luai, maybe he hasn't had the biggest impact on the field yet, but how much of the uh, obviously the change of intensity at training that has led to the growth of the rest of these players can you really attribute to him? I would say all of it.
Yeah.
The belief that signing him and getting him around the club at training has had on, players like Lachlan, players like Talon, players like Sam Weller, players like Jareem would be, indescribable. I don't even think you mentioned Terrell May when you were giving people scores.
Oh, shit, I didn't. Yeah, 10 out of 10, by the way. Oh, sorry, Terrell. He hasn't missed a single tackle.
But
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was round one.
no, it was 1-on-1 against Barrow. He had a clean sheet in round one. Terrell May, yeah, so I mean, gee whiz, bro, like this is stellar work from Shane Richardson, and he needs to take a lot of credit for what he's done. He's played the market beautifully. He sat back and waited and waited and waited, and he picked each opportunity that he felt we needed. He picked Terrell May off the random scrap heap. He plucked the perfect meter eating winger out of the Bulldogs' claws the minute that they needed him the most. We took him off them. We nailed, the best 5'8" in the game who was chomping at the bit to prove himself as a halfback, and then he went and did it. It's stellar. I can't knock it. I'm very excited. And there's still improvement to be made. There's still signings we need to make. There are still weaknesses in the team, but I genuinely think, it's hard to not be optimistic about the future of the Tigers. I know, there's going to be people out there that are listening to this, and you beat Parramatta, mate. Like, they're probably going to struggle to win a game this year. But I look at our roster and I look at the Dolphins roster this weekend, and unless we have a real, down to earth moment, we should be winning that game if Bula plays. And, if we improve our first 25, I feel like we will win that game. So if we concede 2 tries in the first 25 and don't score one, maybe not, but I don't know. I don't really see the Dolphins as much of a threat. But anyway, next question.
Review that another time. The difference between Buller and Mason, we pretty much spoke about that before. He just lifts his teammates. They trust him, so he's obviously sweeping on backline movements. Whereas last week it was Galvin doing a lot. The week before, sorry, it was Galvin doing a lot of it. He's safe under the high ball. He has class and poise, and he glides across the ground, whereas Mason is very much cut and thrust. When he puts his right foot down and sort of moves towards the defensive line, it almost registers on the Richter scale. They're different players, but I think that's the beautiful thing. Styles make fights. I think as well, like, I've always seen him as a 14, and he played in the halves in Cup this week, and we'll get to that. But I think with a bit of time at 9 and 13, you can begin to sort of use Heath in different ways, and that's something that Dream probably doesn't have. I don't think he possesses that utility value that Heath does. Look, just really, really different players and the way they go about it. But put simply, the class and poise of Jareen Buller and the effect that he had on his teammates this weekend just shows the difference that he makes for this football side.
Yeah, oh, look, honestly, the more that I dwell on my statements about Heath Mason and Dream Buller, the stupider I feel.
Well,
I
you're accountable about it. And the thing is that there's absolutely a place for both of them in the 7-8.
don't know. Let me put myself on blast. The reason that I thought that maybe Heath Mason. At no point did I think Heath Mason was a better footballer right now. But I felt like that there might be an argument that maybe by the end of this season or the end of next season that you could maybe make that argument. But I kind of realize now that even though Mason, like as you say, he has that really violent, aggressive style of running, and he's quick off the mark, and and like makes you like he nearly gets through every time he puts his foot down. Buller does the same thing, but he makes it look easy, and it's like easy to kind of look at him and just be like, "What's he doing?" He also puts the opposition defenders under the same amount of stress. He also beats every first tackle that they try, but at the same time, he does it with no effort whatsoever. Whereas Mason is getting every ounce out of himself to create the same sort of chances that Buller just sort of can do in his sleep. So I guess I just forgot what Buller looked like as a player. I don't know. Like, has he improved? Like, he looks improved.
Yeah, I think he has. Look, he made a couple of lengths of the field breaks last year, but I just think he just looks more confident, more assured. He's got a bit more swagger about him, I think. And that's probably the effect of guys like Luai and Taruva who absolutely adore him.
Mm.
So that's always going to give you confidence.
Because he's the fucking, like, Pacific Islands prince, bro. He's like the great unifier. He's like, what is he? He's like a Maori Fijian Aboriginal Samoan.
Yeah, he's el-
He's the great unifier of the tribes, bro.
he is
Kareem Buller, Crown Prince of the Pacific.
he is phenomenal. And like when he said, "Oh yeah, I've been working with Hodge on my ball playing," I was like, "Okay, all right, what does that entail? Does that mean no more basketball passes?" Yeah, it does. But you know what it also means? He plays square. He plays off his right foot. He double pumps. Like abs.
His passes are like his pass. Sorry, I thought you stopped talking there. You broke up on my screen. His passes are just what they need to be. You know what I mean? Like you see when Galvin sometimes is in the similar positions and throws the passes, he like overplays a bit, throws a bit too hard or whatever. Buller just puts him out there. It's just effortlessness,
Yep.
and it's impressive. And but you heard Billy Slater on the Wincast. He said that he reckons Jeremy Bull is a shoe-in for Queensland #1.
Heard it first on the Wincast, baby. This one should be really simple. Can Stafford Toa maintain this level? It's all between the ears. As long as he stays injury free, then yes, I think he can. I'll go out on record and say that I don't think Will Penasini defended to his best, but at the same time, Stafford. I don't think many centers would have stopped him last week. He was fast. He was strong. And he showed all the intent that we knew that he could show, but the question is just whether he can do it consistently. So that's the challenge for him.
Mate, if he keeps getting fed ball the way he was getting fed ball, he'll do that every week. Like there was nothing about his performance that said to me that it was like out of the top draw. Like it was just he got fed early ball and he kept beating the man. Like you can put that you can put that evil on Penasini, but he did the same thing to Val Holmes. So he's more than capable of it. I think he's the sort of player who, if the Tigers can get to a higher level as a team, he's going to be a featured player because he's going to get fed that higher quality of ball. Yeah, I feel like he'll be as good as Galvin and Buller are inside of him. That's what it's going to come down to for Stafford Toller. I think
I like it.
he's more than capable.
Beautiful. Last one, and I don't really want this to drag out super long, but in terms of strengths and weaknesses, I think in terms of strengths, I think it's pretty straightforward. Our spine are really, really classy and are looking to gel really, really nicely. And they're just quality players. I think that's really good. Our wingers, would you believe it, are actually a strength of ours. That's extremely exciting. And this team's character and its attitude, they scrambled hard both weeks in defence. They might have missed some tackles, but the way that they would slide and they would put their bodies in front it has been extremely pleasing, and I absolutely see that as a strength. Your thoughts?
I think that my biggest strength is our goal line defense. I am so thrilled about that because it has been one of our biggest weaknesses forever. Like in both games, it looked like a fucking wall, bro. Like
Yeah.
that, like, and we defended our line against Parramatta in abysmal conditions for about 10 minutes at one point. Like it was literally set after set after set of penalty, repeat set, line dropout, penalty off the line dropout. Like it was just relentless. And as you said earlier, Parramatta didn't look. It didn't look like that, like the ugliness of Tigers when they're having our red zone woes. They were putting on plays,
Hmm.
and we were just shutting them down, boom, 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 and like it just looked clinical.
Yeah.
The goal line defense just looked clinical. Like we just looked like we were under no strain. And it's Dylan Brown is a threat. Zach Lomax is a threat. Penasini is a threat. Sean Lane is a threat close to the line. Like they have players who can threaten close to the line, but we were just shutting them down. And if we can defend our line that well for long periods of time, we'll win a lot of games because it's how you lose games. Those 10-minute periods where you're defending your line and you can't hold them out, and that's how you lose games. It's also how you win games.
Yeah.
I don't like the talk about how like defend if we defend the points will come. I think that only applies to when you're playing poor teams.
Yeah.
Against the good teams, you got to defend well, but you also have to attack well.
Yeah.
So our weakness is like definitely our finishing close to the line, right? So it's like it's our strengths, our weakness on the other end of the field, which is why I'm happy that Benji gave them sort of permission to play a bit more expansively in the middle of the field because it seems like we score more tries when we do that. But now with at least with that right side attack the way it is, it looks like we might be able to score some tries inside the red zone through Taruva. He knows how to finish those opportunities where Charlie, just didn't have the confidence to go for it the way Sonia did. Like I made a comment on Discord that I think that if Charlie was playing on the right wing on the weekend, he probably scores one of the three tries, only the last one of the three.
Yeah.
And Junior Tupu wouldn't be doing the same things that Skelton would be doing. He'd probably be doing similar, but dropping about 3 times as much ball. But so I think strengths are our goal line defense, as remarkable as that is to say. John Morris, take a bow. You have instilled in this team something that they've not had. Now, let's see how they do it against a good team. Fortunately, it's a while till we play one.
Yes, that is true. Weaknesses, I still don't think our discipline, rather, is up to standard. I think we've conceded the most penalties in the comp. I think that some of our defence in midfield and when teams are working out of their end could still be better. That did happen a couple of times against Parramatta, to be honest. And I think some of the errors we've been making haven't been good enough.
At least we haven't given away a sin bin. Did you see how quickly they scored when we had 12 men?
Yeah. I saw a stat courtesy of the great rugby league eye test. We've actually got on average, we make the second least meters per play the ball. Now, I don't necessarily see it as a weakness yet because it's a small sample size, and I think that our outside backs are actually doing their jobs, evidenced by the fact that all of them ran for over 100 meters last week. I think that, I think that our forwards were probably still lacking a couple of extra meters on average per carry, which speaks to the fact that I think that we probably are still short an absolute gun middle forward. I think Royce pulls his weight in terms of his average meterage per carry, but I just think, again, that might be something that affects us against the really, really good teams and sort of jostling for field position. Anything there?
Yeah, even Terrell, like he had 21 carries for 173 meters. That's pretty low average per meters.
Yeah.
But you take that when his work rate's that high. I think that I'd want to see how that goes for a few more weeks before I really zone in on that too much because um, Newcastle are a good defensive side and we were under strength and the conditions on the weekend, kind of. I don't know. Maybe if you look at Parramatta, they're pretty low on that stat too. I just feel like the conditions might have really affected both sides for specifically how that stat lines up. That being said, certainly worth keeping an eye on. I think that you make a valid point. I think that players like Seyfarth, Samuel Afinu, 12 to an extent,
Yep.
probably go down a little bit too easy. I think there's also a chance maybe they might be being coached to do that. I think that there's something to be said about, hitting the line and getting to your belly and playing the ball fast as potentially more valuable than hitting the line and then taking a couple extra meters but slowing the speed of the play the ball down.
Yeah, or furthermore, just taking one to get the ball to a point on the field, which I think we
Yeah.
do a little bit,
Yeah.
which I think would bring it down. Even still, second worst on average in the league. Brisbane's actually the worst.
The other reason I think that it might be the situation really is because we don't do second phase play, and
Yeah.
you get a lot of long carries that probably increase that from an offload. We'll talk about this more against Red when we preview the Redcliffe game, but I
Yeah.
feel like that our lack of second phase and the way we defend second phase is a definite area of improvement that we need to look at.
Most certainly. You spoke about previewing this game. Let's do it. West Tigers play the Redcliffe Dolphins at 5:30 this Saturday at KO Stadium. This is Redcliffe's first match at home. Obviously, their game against Souths was postponed because of the cyclone. The Tigers off a win. The Dolphins played a pretty ugly game against Newcastle. They got absolutely trounced by Kalimpong first. But beware the wounded beast. We've named an unchanged side pending Jareen Buller's fitness. I understand that if he is unavailable, that Charlie Staines will come in. So a little bit of a scoop for you, but hopefully we don't have to call upon Charlie and Jareen's fit and firing. It looks to me as if Redcliffe have named the exact same side, but just have a look about 24 hours and then an hour before kickoff. Both Jack Bostock and Kulikefu Fine Foiaki are both on the extended bench. If those guys come in, this game gets a lot tougher because there's some weaknesses in this side, of which we'll talk about in a sec. But Mac, what are your thoughts here? For me personally, I think that these are two pretty evenly matched sides with different storylines to their season, but this is one that could really go either way.
It's a real temperature check for the West Tigers, in my opinion, because I feel like that realistically, we have a better side on paper. We have more class, and our pack looks stronger, and our spine looks significantly stronger. They have some real strike weapons that Para didn't have. They have speed that Parramatta lacked. They have some, ways to get on top of us, but ultimately, if we lose this game, it's probably going to be mentally. I think that if we show up with the same defensive structures, the same defensive intent, the same patience, and maybe even, go to another level with our ball control, we should be winning this game. And that should be what we should be focusing on in preparation. It should be like, let's do this again. let's change nothing except for controlling the ball better.
Yeah.
Let's be comfortable in the grind. Let's make them push the passes. Let's make them play football to beat us, and let's, you know, play it more optimistically when we have the ball, and we should be winning this game. If we can do it, and we get away with a good win, 10, 12 upwards point win, big temperature check for the West Tigers.
Yeah.
I would be saying, if that's the end result, I will be saying, yeah, we're in the middle group. If we win, if it's a scrappy win or a loss to Redcliffe, I'm saying we're in that 12th to 15th group. If they pump us, I'm saying we're probably 16th, 17th. So I really think it's a big temperature check. I'm not saying that's where we'll end up.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's where I would rank us in the rank and file of the teams. I feel like Redcliffe are a side that generally don't really beat themselves. I feel like that they're a side that spiritually sort of always sort of play to a similar standard. That's kind of been their culture, I think, since their inception. So I really look at them as a good acid test for where we're at.
I agree. In terms of what needs to be on the tip sheet this week for the Tigers, it's limiting their outside backs in yardage. They got some big, strong fellas, guys that can break tackles, guys that are lightning fast. Emma, Farnworth, Tupou / Bostock, even Asako coming out of yardage, they are really, really good. And if they get quick play the balls, Jeremy Marshall King will punish us. And Isaiah Katoa is one of the better natural ball players in the comp, and he tends to grow a leg when he plays, as I've found. Plays quite straight, kicks really well, tends to do some really, really good things. That said, there are some weaknesses in this side, and any side that loses 2 games in a row to start the season, there's certainly chinks in their armour. None more so than their defensive combinations on their edges. Jake Abarillo is actually up against Stafford Toa this week. I would be asking for a similar performance from Stafford. I think there's points down that right edge. Look at Herbie Farnworth and combination. I believe it's with, at the moment, Oren Keeley. Before it was Fino Fuiaki. South continued to pepper that edge, and eventually they came up with points. And then Newcastle did the exact same. If we can play deep, straight, and fast and give Jareem the time that he needs on both edges, I think there's points there. I think, to your point, I think their pack is quite undersized compared to ours. That said, they've got some absolute dogs, as in Kafusi, Tom Gilbert, Ray Stone, Max Plath. But again, I just think in terms of a size mismatch, providing we come with the right attitude and intent, we can score points.
Yeah. If I'm writing the tip sheet, I'm saying scrap, as in ball hits ground, fucking get on top of that thing. Scrap. I'm saying offload comes, scrap. Shut down the fucking second phase play very quickly. I feel like that if they're going to score enough points to beat us, it's going to be off loose balls on the ground getting picked up and, hammer fucking going the length of the field. It's going to be off second phase play where, they strip us for numbers because they've got 3 in the tackle and an offload gets popped. Wrap the ball, scrap for the loose balls, shut down second phase play. We will win the game. Aside from that, it's the same. It's the same approach as last week. That's what I'm looking for. We just have we have to be winning these games. We have the class edge. I hope Benji gave him probably today and yesterday as rest days, to be honest, because that was a pretty taxing game, pretty taxing environment, and they're on a 6-day turnaround. So if we overtrain this week, we might find that in the back quarter of the game, the boys might be lacking in energy. So preparation is going to be pretty key, coming off the back of such a sapping contest. And if there's any Queensland listeners out there that have a spare ticket, she sold out and I didn't get my hands on one. So hook a brother up.
Nice. Jermaine Buller is obviously touch and go at the moment. What kind of difference to the scoreline does he make? Is he the difference between winning and losing?
I don't think he's the difference between winning and losing. I think if we play Staines on the right wing and Taruva at fullback, which is what I would expect them to do. I know you said Staines comes in, but I don't think that necessarily means Staines comes in to play fullback. I think it just means Staines comes into the 17. I feel like we still win the game if we have that approach that we discussed. If we stick to the defensive systems, do we flog them? Maybe not. But we should still be winning. We still have a better side 1-17 than them. In my opinion, even without Buller, it is a closer contest though.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think it brings us back a little bit. Anything else on this game, or you just want to throw me a score prediction?
I think that I would really like to see a reshuffle in the forward pack for this game. I think that we should be really like I've belabored this. I'm going to belabor it every week until I see it happen. I want to see Bolle move to the bench. I want to see Hunt start. I want if all we're doing is just swapping them, that's fine by me. I think that it doesn't matter what jersey May wears, but he's playing 13 and 12's playing prop. So I feel like we should be probably also trying to start to consider how we can maybe get a full 80 out of Terrell because he looks up to it. And I don't see much value in pulling him off the field when he comes off the field without even having deep breaths. Like, if he can go 80, he should be going 80. I saw Bryce Gibbs on X last week saying the same thing. I saw somebody on X, trying to have an argument with him, and he just replied, he should play 80. Gibbs was just like, if you want to have an argument with somebody on X, Tigers fans, don't have an argument with Bryce Gibbs because he's just he doesn't react. He'll just shut you down.
Yeah, that
Go
sounds like
go and try though because it's really entertaining for people to read. But yeah, other than that, I think we've covered it adequately. Score prediction with Waller, I'm going pretty similar scoreline to the Parramatta scoreline, honestly. But maybe Redcliffe are good for maybe 2 or 3. Let's say 32-16. Tigers way 24-20 if he's out.
okay. I mean, I tipped a win last week, so I'll tip a win this week. I've got it with Buller 28-10 without. I reckon it could end up like 16-14, like really close, really close.
I'd like that. I would like to see the Tigers win a close game. That's something that I'm waiting to see. I think that when we win a close game, it'll be a pretty big moment for the club. And the earlier in the season that we can get ourselves over the line in a tight one, the better for the belief moving forward. Because, semi-finals are tight, games against good teams are tight. We're not going to win every game 32-6, so we need to be able to win those close ones too.
I agree. Good luck to them this weekend. You actually did the double on Sunday. You went to the first grade game, obviously, but you also managed to get out to Ringrose Park to watch our second grade side. So, mate, I'm just going to wind you up and watch you go. You give me your thoughts.
Yeah, very disappointing to watch. Oppressive conditions, so there's probably limited takeaways you could make from it, but to say that we were poor would be an understatement. The quality of the New South Wales Cup as an on-field spectacle is abysmal, and honestly, the NRL needs to actually find a way to improve this because I think that the gap between a good New South Wales Cup player and an average NRL player is far too wide. And I don't necessarily put it just down to, some sort of weird elite versus average player thing or player drain. I put it down to a couple of other things. The quality of the officiating in New South Wales Cup is so poor that it would be demoralising to play the New South Wales Cup. The amount of poor calls that I saw on both sides of the field that just were head shaking for the players to have to deal with. Honestly, I would struggle to play that level with the incompetence of the officials, the referees missing blatant calls. I'm 50 yards away from the play and can see that this is a forward pass, or I can see that there was no way he touches the ball, or mate, I'm sitting dead set in front of Aaron Payne and his like assistants, and everybody in the stands are just like, Wiramu Greg's 2 meters offside, nothing happens. It's like, what are the sideline officials doing? Like, it's just abysmal. The standard of officiating in the NRL is bad, but like, and I guess that's why the New South Wales Cup officiating is so bad, because we've got the best of the worst officiating in the NRL. But
Yeah.
the standard of officiating in this sport, if they have designs on competing with US sports in the next 10 to 20 years, the game's got to clean up its officiating at every level.
Yeah.
That's one issue. When the standard is so bad because of the officiating, everything else doesn't fucking matter. It's literally glorified opposed training runs. Now, beyond that, the lack of marketing for the New South Wales Cup, we've got Bryce Cartwright, Ryan Madison, Hayes Dunster, Wiramu Greg, Charlie Geimer against Heath Mason, Latu Fainu, Charlie Staines. These are NRL players playing in a suburban ground 50 metres away from 500 people slapping the pokies chasing the feature at Wentworth Leagues Club. Like, how can they not pack that venue out? It was free. It was free. Kids could have run onto the field after the game with a footy and thrown it around with bloody Heath Mason, and he would have gladly done so. Like, how are they not getting spectators to these games? I know it was hot, but I've watched enough New South Wales Cup on like, streams to know that they just don't bother. Like, they leave it up to not the NRL clubs, they leave it up to the New South Wales Cup clubs. They're leaving it up to the West's Magpies and the Wenty Magpies to promote New South Wales Cup. Those clubs are more interested in promoting the fucking Carvery special on a Sunday than they are at promoting the games where these NRL players are playing. NRL, if I can give you some advice, get spectators to the ground so it simulates an atmosphere. More people show up to the South Grafton Rebels versus Grafton Ghosts than showed up to what's essentially half of two NRL sides playing against each other in the heart of Western Sydney. It makes no sense to me. They need to focus on getting more people out to these games, because you can just tell that the players that come back from NRL and play New South Wales Cup, they go back and they get demoralised. It does nothing for the development. Like, I'm at a point where I would rather, and I'm so glad Latu Fainu's just 18th man this week and is going to Redcliffe,
Yeah.
because he's not going to gain anything from playing in that New South Wales Cup side. Nothing whatsoever. If anything, it's going to regress. And we had a conversation. I would be playing him in flag, because I think that, like, the quality of New South Wales Cup, the quality of it as a spectator sport, the quality of the officiating, and to top it off, the difficulty of playing with, like, strong grown men in a really poor team is going to set him back. It's not going to do him any good at all. He'll be better off watching the NRL side and just getting mental reps than he would even playing it. Now, onto the actual game itself. I thought our pack were all right. Both sides' packs cancelled each other out, which is great because they had a very strong pack. But my gosh, we missed a trick with that halves combination. Heath Mason and Latu Fainu in the halves. It was like watching two left feet try to dance. Like, neither of them are a dominant half. I would argue that, like, Heath Mason is definitely not a 7 at any level above SG Ball at this point in his career. He is not a 7 that can lead a team around the field. His fitness was so bad. I know it was a hot day, but he's supposed to be playing fullback. Fullback's the most aerobic position on the field, and he couldn't play 7 for 80. He was on his haunches 65 minutes into the game. Latu Fainu was way too passive. I think that, there was no way we were going to score points the way that they were both playing. There was a few times where from the middle of the field, we unlocked Fartape on the right or Folletti on the left. Fartape played all right. Folletti was diabolical. He's at a point where his morale and his development has plateaued. He's in the same boat as Matamua. You can just tell he has no love for the game right now. He's got no self-confidence. I'd be really worried about him if I was if I was, one of his people, his agent and stuff like that. I think Folletti needs a change of scenery bad. I don't see him progressing if we keep playing him at New South Wales Cup. He's flag age too. Drop him back.
Yeah.
Drop him back. I think that Charlie Staines was nowhere near as good as I would have hoped to see from an NRL player. Drop him back to play fullback in that grade. He should have been calming. He didn't really do much at all. And at one point he got a ball on a sweeping movement and he had pretty much two unmarked players on his left, and threw a cutout in front of Isaac Thompson straight over the sideline. It's just like not good enough. I thought Tristan Hope was probably our best player until the very end of the game, when I think he made a pretty key error that led to their last try and icing the game for them. But at one point, he did chase down, I think it was their fullback, from like inside our own half and make like a really good try saving tackle. We did that in the first half. Then Aaron Payne pulled him off for Lovadua and kept him off the field for about 40 minutes. He went off the field after about the 28th, 29th minute, I want to guess, 30th minute-ish, and he didn't come back on until the 65th. Like, which is bizarre. Like, I feel like he should have been, rested for no more than 15 minutes, especially because he also had the half-time break. Like, and which brings me to my major point, which is Aaron Payne. Now, he's going to hate me if he hears this, because I was sitting with an earshot of him. So I'm going to have to avoid him for the rest of my life. But I don't understand what he is doing as a tactician on the day. I have observed from afar question marks that are now confirmed to me because I was sitting close enough to hear him talk. Sorry. He does not talk. He sat in the stands and just watched the game. I feel like he barely said anything for the first half. He seems to make substitution decisions based on just eye tests on the field. There's no plan. It's like he's just looking for. At one point, he was like, "Let's get Jaden on there and Barker, take Barker off." Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was no plan to it. He's just making it up as he goes along on the day. And I remember last year seeing multiple times where he pulled off a sizable middle and sends out a guy like Kane Nicholas or Bailey Hodges, and then suddenly we lose the middle of the ruck and we got flogged. I'm sorry, Aaron, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm sitting there the whole time. Like, I was actually sitting in front of him saying things out loud, hoping he would just hear me speaking and then just do what I suggested. I'm serious. And there was times in the game where like we're going too far sideways all the time, and I'm like, it's hot. Wiramu Greg is 195 kilograms, standing in the middle of the field, like sucking in the big ones, and instead of like getting quick play the balls and going forward straight at him, we're spreading it every fucking play. And like he didn't mention it until the 60th minute of the game. Like, it wasn't until halfway through the second half where he got aggressive with the guy on the other end of the mic and was like, "Hey, tell him we're going too sideways. I've got to go through him to beat him." Like, and he got frustrated. Until then, he was just chill. It was really weird. Anyway, if anybody out there knows Aaron Payne, please don't send him this link because I don't want him to hate me too much. But for improvement, like, I mean, I want you to succeed. I want him to succeed. I want the New South Wales Cup side to succeed. I'm not going to death ride you, bro. What you're doing is obvious room for improvement. Just get one of those other two guys that were sitting either side of you doing jack shit to like actually plan the subs and actually, do something. And please go sit on the sideline and talk to the players as they're coming off and on the field. Like, because that side had no talk. It was just a ghost town on the field. And in those conditions, it was oppressive. Like, it was, yeah, the body language was all wrong. And they were only kept in the game because Para were like just as bad. And those players that got dropped to that Para side, sorry if there's any Para fans out here listening to this, but none of them Jason Riles is not wrong for having done that. Like, none of them want to play first grade for Parramatta. None of them put their hand up in any way whatsoever. Aside from maybe Wiramu. Wiramu gave a fuck. But he's not very good. So it didn't really.
And he's still 195 kilos, I think you quoted it as. I will jump in for one question, and that is, besides Kurt Falls, who has been named at halfback this weekend to make his club debut for the Maggies, what does this team need?
A coach.
Anything else?
And they got the talent. Like, Parramatta's side was stacked with NRL talent. On paper, we should have got pumped, and we didn't. Our pack stood up. Our pack's okay. I'm happy with the forwards. We've got good forward steps. We've got New South Wales Cup forwards playing Flegg and Ron Massey Cup. Like, a spiritual leader on the field with experience is going to make a huge difference, but it's not going to matter too much if the tactics are poor. And we're not adapting on the run based on what we're seeing in front of us. I worry about any side who has a coach that sits on the sideline and can't actually like adjust the game plan on the fly in a timely fashion. I will eat humble pie completely if he was sending SMSs. Now, if that's a thing that NRL and New South Wales Cup coaches do nowadays, and they've texted the sideline because maybe they don't want the other coach to hear what they're saying, I'm sorry, I take it all back. But based on what I could hear, yeah,
Okay,
that's
man.
the. It's but yeah, like aside from that, I feel like I'd be bringing Tavana back up. Whether that's to play fullback or centre. There's players in New South Wales Cup that need a spell in Flegg. He needs to be up. I'd be bringing Broadlow back up. He's been playing good in Flegg.
Yes.
I think I think you just need to cycle the players that are performing well. I'd be glad SG Ball season's coming to an end because there's some players down in SG Ball that are clearly better than the New South Wales Cup players. I'd be definitely bringing Jared Hayward into the side. I'd probably be bringing Mark Tanus into the side. I'd be probably even looking at players like, well, I mean, we need Marcy in New South Wales Cup as soon as possible. He'd make a big difference. So too would Taufaia Inga. I think I know they're young and they're probably, it's easy to say they're not ready, but yeah, we got to bring the talent through. If they're gonna be a poor team anyway, we might as well be blooding the younger guys.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But we'll see how those boys progress through the grades, and I think the club, they definitely have development plans for these kids, but whether or not they filter through and they're prioritised over some of these guys that might be on the chopping block remains to be seen. That said, they are playing against a very understrength North Sydney side, who have obviously ties to the Storm. But I'd be very worried if they don't get a win this week. But I am confident that with the addition of one Kurt Falls, who will provide some direction and some communication, a good kicking game, some leadership and some ownership, that we might get the win that we so desperately desire.
Shout out Jaden Tanner. I thought he was really good off the bench. Didn't get enough minutes. Definitely to pick the forwards off the bench. I think that he gave heaps of a fuck. Good on you, Jaden.
Respect to you, Jaden, and good to have him in the system. I thought he was far too good to go over and play championship footy in England after leaving the Dogs at the end of 23. So good pick up there, West Tigers. One team that did get a win over the weekend was Flegg. They could be really, really proud of their performance to come back in the sweltering heat after being down 22-10. The main perpetrator of that was Max Lyles, who created beautifully and kicked really nicely, particularly in the last 5 minutes to see it through. It was nice to see our spine go to work. Joseph Lanyon had another great game. Tino Tavana, who you mentioned, did some great cleanup work at the back, took some really tough catches, both off the deck and in the air. And the 5'8", Iverson Maddo, obviously we know his commodity. He's pretty good as well. Back rowers, you mentioned Broadlow. Yeah, you're right. He is far too good for this level. He should be playing New South Wales Cup. He showed that again this week. some things to work out defensively, but I would genuinely just throw him in there and try and get him to learn on the run. And Mitch Tautua had some nice touches as well. So good on those boys. They will roll on and play this week. The Melbourne Storm in Melbourne at Broadmeadows. Few ex-Tigers affiliate, oh, well, some Tigers affiliated guys there. There's Sully Bolle's there, but a lot of them are actually in SG ball.
Cooper Clark?
Yeah. Coops is playing SG. I thought he'd be pushed up, but no, there's still a season there. Anything on Flag? Anything to mention?
No, I didn't catch the game. Yeah, good on them for scoring a win. I think that this Flag side, if they can hang in there until SG ball season ends, and after the Magpies and the Tigers sides are finished up with SG ball, I mean, you see guys funnel through into that Flag side. I feel like that there's better talent in the SG ball, so I think that, and that applies to a lot of other teams, but not every other team has two competent SG ball sides.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see some of the guys that played Flag last year, like Taufainga, Duncan, so on and so forth, straight back into Flag. A few others coming through as well. I mean, Marcassini played Flag last year on the wing. So there'll be lots of optimism about the Flag side's chances this year, I reckon, once they settle on their stronger 17 comprised of the whole Pathways roster.
Most certainly. Really quickly, both Andrew Johns and Laurie Daly Cup played games last week. I think AJ had a win, LD had a loss, but they've got their semi-finals this weekend. So good luck to those boys.
Did they wait? Who's the semis?
So Laurie Daly will play.
Did we make both semis?
Yep. So they'll play the North Coast Bulldogs.
Okay.
And Andrew Johns will play the. I think it's, what is it? Newcastle Maitland Region Knights.
It's low key a pretty good sign that we've been consistently competitive in that league, I think, because a lot of those boys funnel through.
Yeah, they do.
So yeah, you see, like that's where Duncan played most of his Pathways.
He did.
A few others came through there. Zachary Clark, who's gone now, but like he played a lot of that.
Yeah, he did
as well. So I think it fills a gap for those young players sometimes. Just shows the strength of our Pathways that we're competitive in that league, both those leagues.
I agree. Harold Matson SG Ball we previewed last week, albeit with our team list because we thought they were last week. But I've got a surprise for you. Logan Brooks is back for Balmain this week.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. Now I'm confident that they're going to actually go on a run. They're a competitor.
There you go. There you have it.
Well, do you agree? I know they got pumped once, but like that, if you just close your eyes and pretend that match didn't happen, best team in the comp.
They've got the Chooks this week, who have some good young players, but we should get that done. They're 7th place. It should be a good game, and the Magpies have got the top of the table, Parramatta, and you reckon it might be the week where Parramatta probably don't play to their full potential. I
just think that Magpies side are kind of just on the rise. Like I think that they were just a squad of dudes that were a bit young and maybe took for granted how good they were, hit SG ball and realised that it was a little bit of a harder comp, and then had to, like, guys like Phoenix Godinay and stuff, dunk them in the first 2 weeks trying a bit too hard, and that was putting the side under pressure, I think, and now they're both dominating. So now the best players in the side are standing up, and they'll be really hard to beat for any side. Look, if they can get over Parramatta, they might be a contender too if they'll go on a run. Like, it's a really good test for them.
They need to win this week because otherwise, I think it's
they got to win 2 out of their last 3, right? 2 out of their last 3.
Yeah, but it'll probably go into mathematics and stuff and certain scenarios. So win this week and they'll continue to control their destiny. I think that's pretty much it. We have so many grades on this week, so good luck keeping track, and we're going to have to try and review things as best as we can. But thanks once more for tuning in, and hopefully we get back on here this time next week, and we've got a second consecutive Wincast. This has been West Tigers Faithful, episode 24.
Yeah, and
I'll allow you to say the final few words.
Somebody give me a ticket to the Dolphins vs Tigers at Cato Stadium. I need one. Hang on, let me play the outro. Wait a minute. Here we go. Nah, she doesn't want to start. Just say something else, Reedie. It'll start when you start talking.
Yeah, all right.
We're only strangers. Until we realize this life is temporary. An illusion we must fight. Open up your eyes. Gonna be alright.
I also wrote the lyrics to that song, by the way.
You did too, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I see everyone.